All right, everyone, time to return to abortion as a topic, one that I honestly I didn't expect to come up in national politics. First and foremost, let me say this. Trump is not the arbiter of this. He's being blamed for it. The Democrats are going to use it as leverage against him, but this is happening in Republican-controlled state houses. Alabama and Missouri have competing anti-abortion measures right now. I think Alabama passed its measure. I think wasn't that the heartbeat law, which is basically like what 8 weeks or something. In Missouri, they're trying to limit it similarly through different auspices. First and foremost, let me say I'm pro-choice. And not in the way like Northam and the really weird side of the Democrats are. Like, they're talking about post-birth abortion, basically, which is asinine. I do believe in a woman's right to choose, however. I think that states can pass reasonable stringencies on that. I don't think 8 weeks is reasonable by any measure. In most states, it's 20 weeks. That's fairly decent. It kind of makes sense because it's like, there's no reason to wait until like 2 weeks away from delivery. That's just crazy talk. Most women, they're going to know that they're pregnant by the second month or so. It's going to be kind of obvious, so fucking try to take care of it early. Now, the right wing, people who are more traditionalistic, use it as a boogeyman. Like, they try to make it seem like the average abortion involves a woman using it as a method of birth control and waiting until it's already fully formed. That's not actually the case. In most cases, the abortion is basically an induced miscarriage using pills. It's not even a surgical procedure. Up until I think 6 or 8 weeks anyway it is. It's you take pills and it causes a miscarriage basically. Then they have suctioning tools that are used beyond that. The full surgical procedure, the boogeyman that you've seen in your church documentary doesn't begin until the third trimester or like 5 months, which is relatively uncommon. So I'm pro-choice. I don't have a problem, but there was a separate story, though, where they're like, well, Trump's war on abortion, he's shutting off funding for abortions overseas. And I'm like, we shouldn't be giving any form of money to any nation at this point. We don't have our own fiscal house in order. I don't care if he turns off the abortion funds. I just wish he would turn off all the other funding too. Fuck it. The other nations should take care of themselves. You create reliance when you give free shit away anyway. And it becomes a problem. It's one thing to be charitable and have charitable causes. It's another thing to be trying to pay for every goddamn thing in other countries. In some cases, you run up against an optics problem. You have a culture where abortion is very unpopular and the U.S. is seen as butchering babies. That is something to keep in mind for the purposes of diplomacy. I realize morally there's a different issue. I think it's ethical to allow women to choose and have bodily autonomy, but at the same time, you do have to play nice with other states and understand there are other cultures and people in the world, and they may not agree. I thought the liberals, were hyper aware of that fact. And they're like, oh yeah, there are other cultures and ways of life, and by the way, they're all better than ours, and we should change for them. It's really funny to see them not act that way in some other cases. But anyway, with these bills, which I think will be labeled unconstitutional. I mean, they're not going to stick. It's obvious that it runs up against Roe v. Wade. Well, that's sort of the law of the land. Sorry, people who happen to have a problem with abortion as a procedure, but it is still legal. You got to understand that the constitutional argument of Roe v. Wade, which was accepted and made abortion fully legal nationwide, is now standing precedent. Even Kavanaugh has said that that's the case, and he wouldn't want to revisit it either. So you're not going to get especially under Trump. Trump is not going to push the issue. And the thing is, here's the funny thing. If he did, it would be kind of popular. Most Americans don't agree with late-term abortion and unrestricted access. Most Americans are actually quite pious and religious compared to me on this issue. Like, I realize that I'm in the minority because I don't have a problem with women exercising their right to choose at 5 months. Most people, they want more stringent. Yeah, most people are in the camp, and this is a really funny one. I'll explain it like I have before. Most people are in the camp of, I dislike abortion, but it should be allowed in the case of rape, incest, mother's life in danger. What I would say is if your moral opposition has to do with terminating pregnancy because it's a life, then you shouldn't be for it in those cases either. You should let the mother's life be endangered in hopes that there's a 10% chance she lives, and you're like, well, at least the baby's alive either way, no abortion allowed. Rape or incest, well, yeah, a crime has been committed, but you should still oppose the abortion. You should want her to be chained to a bed and have to give birth to the fetus, I guess. Otherwise you're compromised in your morality. I hate this wishy-washy bullshit where people want to take both roads at the same time. You can't do that. You're either against or you're for. I'm for the existence of abortion as a medical procedure because I don't believe that the state or any other entity should be able to prevent an individual, female, from having access to it. I don't believe that the state has any right to legislate that. It's not a settled issue as to whether it constitutes a human being with sovereignty in that sense. Again, in the minority, even among libertarians, I would think it was cut and dry, but a lot of them are like, well, no, but then it's the child's right, and I understand that there's an ongoing debate. Don't think that that means that I'm some big fan. I mean, I might say Hail Satan, abort everyone, just to piss people off, but ultimately, yes, I understand. It would be nice if abortion didn't have to exist, because it's like, well, it's regrettable and can be traumatizing for the mother. I just don't think the state should have any authority in that realm. But now Trump's being blamed for it. If he were to raise the issue, something like 55-60% of Americans would be on Trump's side. That's the funny part. The liberals have always been on the underdog side, shielded only by Roe v. Wade. I think the fact that it's more pragmatic, though, like you'd think about some evangelical politician's wife gets raped, she gets pregnant, might change his mind a little bit, in all honesty. And it has. There have been, cases I've spoken with people. They're like, well, I don't support abortion. Then you're like, well, yeah, I had an abortion because, I was raped in an alleyway or something. It happens. Unfortunately, it happens. A lot more often, unfortunately, than a lot of people would like to admit. The rapist doesn't likely carry around condoms all the time, if you know what I'm saying. Cause of HIV as well, transmission. Used to be a stigma that you deserved it if you had an STD or something like that. Then people realized that the real world wasn't Leave It to Beaver. And then they realized a blood transfusion might have given you your disease, so a little bit different. I oppose these bills, but to say that Trump is involved, he didn't say anything. This is happening at the state level. So the liberals are going to try to extrapolate this to a national issue, and it might blow up in their faces. Look, they might be handing Trump 2020 by raising the issue, because he doesn't even have to say anything. They'll go gun-ho, Northam-style, post-birth abortion is a great thing. Hail Northam, the blackface governor of Virginia that we didn't kick out for some mysterious reason, and they'll basically hang their own political careers. Because they're not on the winning side as far as optics go. A lot of people want to temper abortion quite more considerably, including some people that aren't religious. Again, I realize that. I oppose it, but I am on the underdog side, I suppose, on that issue. Yeah. So it's definitely a complex thing, but Trump has nothing. Trump, I don't think, cares if you get an abortion. They tried to do this with gay rights. They're like, if Trump wins, he's going to come for your gay marriages. And then Trump's like, oh, yeah, congratulations to the gay Republican giving the keynote speech here. This couldn't have happened a couple of years ago. Oh, my God, Trump is a terrible sexist. And then, Trump practically could sign an Equal Pay Act for women or something, and they would still jump down his throat for that. It's amazing how he's gotten the Democrats to be pro-censorship. They've become pro-war. They're pro-corporate fascism. They're definitely anti-free speech in every way. And in fact, he could probably get the Democrats to say they wanted to lower taxes. If he said, oh, yeah, we're going to need to raise some fees and regulate something more, then, oh, no, free markets are good. See, Mr. Trump is lying to people. It'd be funny. I mean, he could come out against cancer, and these people would be saying that sunscreen was a sin or something. The sunscreen was a symbol of white supremacy. Oh, wanting to have pale skin, oh my God. I half expect that. That's not even a joke at this point. I wish it was. That's about all. Peace out.